and then, oh, look, he miraculously feels better just in time to throw down an open dunk.
Hey.
I mean, shouldn't he be saving this for the regular season?
Let me ask
Do you
first.
remember Huertas that one time? Oh, there we go.
Oh, my guy Dragic. Perk, why is the players, they always hurt until it's offensive time and then they feel healthy again?
You know he staged that. He staged that. I like that. He had to try it out in preseason to make sure it worked for the regular season. He outsmarted Draymond. I never seen that. Way to go, Big McGee. I like it.
Former teammates, and then, of course, you saw he had to do a little talking, right?
He was hiding behind Spo.
Right? There we go. Boom. It's all good. I still think JaVale should have maybe done this, when it counted.
It's like the opposite of the J.R. Smith play where he was dapping up Jason Terry.
Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols alongside our front office insider, Amin Al-Hassan, and his mangled hand, and also our NBA champion, team all-back alley, Mr. Kendrick Perkins. I'm always so thrilled when you're here. Our Warriors insider, Nick Friedel, is going to be joining us later. He's going to break down the defensive struggles, which we saw from the Warriors last night. Also, we're going to discuss the contract extension Bradley Beal just signed with the Wizards. It's worth an additional $72 million. Is that a better deal for the Wizards
Take it for sure.
or
Try to
Beal?
get some more.
We'll discuss, but anytime it's $72 million, that's a lot of money. All right, so the first time I met Vince Carter was about 20 years ago in a chocolate factory in Canada. It was a promotional appearance the Raptors had trotted him and Tracy McGrady out for. They both had to wear these white lab coats and some uncomfortable shower cap type things on their heads to stand in an assembly line and pose for pictures. It was so delightfully awkward that I was pretty sure in the moment that it would be one of the most memorable things I would see Vince do. Of course, it turned out to not even be close. Over the last 2 decades, the player dubbed half man, half amazing has proven himself to actually be half man, all amazing. And last night, he showed yet again why. At age 42, Carter walked into Madison Square Garden and hit, 1, 2, 3.
I want to get a hand up.
Boom. Or, 4 three-pointers in a 5-minute span. The fans in the building loved it. NBA Twitter loved it. Here's Knicks beat writer Chris Eisman, quote, "Someday I'll tell my grandchildren about watching Vince Carter. Actually, I'll probably just bring them to a game so they can watch him themselves." And here's Coach David Fizdale after the game.
We've seen Vince Carter play in several iterations.
Well, he retired already. I'm so tired of him.
You've seen him play in several iterations of his career. You still look from watching him and even what he's able to do at 14.
I think it's phenomenal. I think it's awesome to see. He gives us 40 pluses, a lot of hope. Obviously, I have a ton of respect for Vince. I had him in Memphis and got to spend a lot of time with him. He's a perennial professional. Those guys are lucky to have him on that team.
I love Coach Fizz, but I'm always amused when I hear anyone say Vince gives old guys hope. I promise, if you are a 40-something rec league player, you have no shot of doing what Vince Carter is doing. Let's be honest, if you are a world-class NBA player, you likely have no shot of doing what Vince Carter is doing, because literally what he's doing, no human being on this earth has ever done before. He is entering his 22nd season, more than Kobe, more than Kareem. Once the calendar flips to January, he will become the first NBA player to play in 4 different decades, which is just mind-blowing. He has also spanned actual multifamily generations. You know how last night Vince squared off against Knicks top draft pick R.J. Barrett? Well, Vince used to play with his dad, Rowan, who was in Raptors training camp a couple times and starred on the Canadian national team. After the game, Vince told ESPN's Malika Andrews that he knows the Hawks might not play him in all 82 games this year, but his goal is to be healthy enough to be available for all of them, which, he played 76 last year, so I feel pretty good about his chances. As has been well documented at this point, Vince is crazy meticulous about all the extra stretching and rehab required to play at this age. On game days, the team's early bus is way too late for him. He takes his own car to the arena so he can get all his pregame work in. But honestly, that's just the mechanics. The truth is, Vince is able to do what he's doing right now because, well, number one, as we saw during the 2000 dunk contest, he possesses an athleticism well beyond nearly any player we have ever seen. This is a man who showed us back then he could actually briefly fly. And oh, by the way, he's still doing 360s and windmill dunks in his 40s. So yeah, it makes sense that of everyone in Vince's draft class, which by the way included both Ty Lue and Nets GM Sean Marks, it's Vince that's still hooping. And then the second reason he's still doing all of this, he's made choices over the past 5 years based on what he actually wanted from this late state in his career, which was to regularly still play basketball instead of being a decoration at the end of someone's bench. That means instead of making those get-me-a-ring championship hopeful free agent choices, Vince has favored young, rebuilding teams that have room to give him minutes. It's the opposite of the approach, say, Carmelo Anthony took in his last 2 stops. And for Vince and the teams he's played for, it's been rewarded tenfold. Now, Vince has said this is his last season. And even though he's told us that here on The Jump for a few years in a row now, this time I actually believe him. He knows that means he'll get some rocking chair type farewell tour moments at arenas around the league. But honestly, what he wants is the kind of ceremony he got last night. Something spontaneous and pure, and as all the way amazing as Vince himself. So, Kendrick, we want to see Vince Carter playing in the playoffs this year, right?
Absolutely.
That is what we want.
Absolutely.
So how close is this Hawks team to getting him there? How good can they be?
They could be good. Look, the future is bright for this Atlanta Hawks team. You're looking at their team. They're stacked up at the wing and guard position, which I think is great for them because they're able to play small ball, which complements Trae Young and Collins. You're looking at this young core that they're building along with the veteran guys like Vince Carter and Evan Turner that's able to control the locker room. And when they go small with the new guys that they got with Cam Reddish and the Hunter kid that's been very impressive this preseason, I think the sky's the limit for the Hawks, and I think they make the playoffs this year. My thing is when they hit adversity a little bit throughout the season or whatever, or they go come together and willpower and be able to get through it mentally. That's my whole concern. But obviously,
those ages.
I know, and obviously they're well coached by Coach Lloyd. So I love the direction that they're going in, and I do think that the Hawks make the playoffs this year.
Look at that! All right, so he says yes.
I say probably not, but I agree with everything he said. Right? So I think this is a young, exciting team. I think they're finding their way. I think in this league, when you have a roster that young, that many young guys, it's just hard to do the things, to execute in a consistent manner. Because the biggest thing about youth in this league is it's up and down. There are nights where you'll say, oh, they get it. They finally know how we want to do things. And then the next night is like, guys,
it's not linear.
We just talked about it, right? And so that's not a knock on their talent. It's just sometimes it takes time to develop that consistency, especially across a roster. We're not talking about 1 or 2 players. It's a lot of different guys. And even though Vince is one of the best vets there is, we had him in Phoenix, and he was awesome there. Evan Turner is a good vet as well, but there's only so much those guys can do, and it's only 2 of them versus how many of these other young guys. I see Atlanta looking like Denver the last few years, like Sacramento and New Orleans right now. It's like you're on the cusp.
But here's the difference. Atlanta plays in the East.
That's the only thing that makes it a reasonable.
That's a really big thing.
It's a big thing. But to me, I think we're also sell short a little bit some of the other East teams that are ahead of them, right? Miami, Orlando.
You think I don't think Orlando is just ahead of the Hawks like that.
I kind of
not talent-wise. I don't think.
Not talent-wise, but they're there as far as they've got a maturity level.
Well, listen, and you and Rachel could answer this for me. Far as like with the Hunter kid coming from Virginia, being well coached, far as with Cam Reddish coming from Coach K, do you think that helped them more so coming into the league, far as with their maturity and stuff like that?
Reddish had a real up and down year at Duke. Hunter maybe so, maybe he's more ready. But Reddish, to me, he's exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of talent, you excited, but is he going to be able to make the right decisions night in, night out? Because it really is about the marathon, right? We always say 82 games is too much, but it also tests what your concentration level is at, your focus level. Because it's easy to kind of, in February, just kind of start thinking of games as throwaway games. And I'm not quite sure that Atlanta's right there yet.
Right, but the core of that young core of those guys on the list, Trae Young, John Collins, it's not their first year.
No.
And so I do like them. And again, they are playing in the East, and I don't know if Orlando is ahead of Atlanta. I learned last night as if I needed any reinforcement, New York is not ahead of Atlanta, so we have that. All right, now, some breaking news. This is his first U.S. interview about the league's conflict with China, over, of course, that tweet with Rockets GM Daryl Morey gave. Adam Silver revealing new details at the Time 100 Health Summit today about what happened behind the scenes. Here's what Adam Silver said, quote, We made clear that we were being asked to fire him, Daryl, by the Chinese government, by the parties we dealt with, government and business. We said there's no chance that's happening. There's no chance we'll even discipline him. So, Amin, he also talked about sort of being an American business and taking those American values with them to China. I think that it's something that they got some backlash over their initial statement. There were 2 statements and a press conference, so there was a lot there. They did get some backlash back here at home. And this is Adam's strongest comments yet of saying, hey, freedom of speech. We defended Daryl and we didn't apologize for him, right? They apologized for the Chinese fans being insulted. And Adam, I thought, made a good point of saying, like, hey, both things can be true. We're not apologizing for Daryl's right to say what he said, but we can also say that we have Chinese fans that we know didn't like it. And he's pointing out, like, hey, as I said, we took those American business values over with us to China. Is that enough? What do you think of his comments?
Yeah, I thought it was remarkably transparent. I mean, he said legitimately they wanted him fired, and we said no. He could have just said they weren't happy or kind of danced around it, but he made it very clear. I thought that was very important. At the same time, it's still complicated because we operate in a league where guys get fired all the time, especially if the team can't get over the hump. So does this mean Daryl Morey can never get fired now? Because if he gets fired for, but I'm just saying, if he gets fired for the job the Rockets have done, people are automatically going to fall back on, oh, you know why he really got fired. And so it just makes it a really uncomfortable situation. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's complicated, man. I know everyone wants this to be not complicated, but the moment we're talking about our business and how it's run, that makes everything in this situation very complicated.
Kendrick, do you like that he came out and said, hey, they wanted him fired? We said no, that he was that transparent?
Listen, I love Adam Silver. I think we have the best commissioner in sports. You know, you look at his background for us when he first took the job, you know, the players love him. The coaches love him, the GM love him. I love him. I love the way Adam Silver handles situations. He always have our back. It's a lot different from when David Stern was in office. You know, he was a lot firm. As you look, when Adam Silver took over, just look at different things that changed. The dress code, he let players be themselves. It wasn't no more.
Well, the Donald Sterling thing, right?
Yeah, having to be suit and tie. He take action, and he always take up, and to me, he always take the high road and choose the right path. So I applaud Adam Silver for what he said.
I mean, look, I think you're right. This is an issue that is going to be following the league around, and it should, because it is complicated, and that's okay. So I think this is a league that has shown it can grapple with complicated issues, and we will watch them continue to do that. But I also, I like what he said today because, again, transparency.
Just be glad when it be over with, right?
Again, that's. I don't think that's happening. Up next, we got all the details of Brad Beal's new deal with the Wizards. I'm going to give you a hint. It's worth a lot of money. Which side won the negotiations, or is everybody a winner? We'll discuss that in a moment. First, though, time for our distant replay. It's this date in 2000. Amin, guess who it is?
Uh-oh. Man, is it Vince Carter?
It's Vince Carter Day.
Oh, yeah, it's Vince Carter Day.
It's Vince Carter Day at the show. Man. Seriously, that could be from last season.
Yeah. Easy.
Oh, look at that. You know how old this is? Kevin Willis is on the floor.
The man was drafted with Ty Lue and Sean Marks.